subject, Madam President. Biodiesel producers are a vital part of Iowa's rural economy. In 2021, Iowa produced 340 million gallons of biodiesel, which helps Iowa farmers add value to each bushel of soybeans by producing a much-needed transportation fuel in addition to high-protein animal feed. Not only is biodiesel good for Iowa's economy, it's also significantly better for the environment. According to our Department of Energy, greenhouse gas emissions from biodiesel are as much as 74% lower as compared to traditional petroleum diesel. Recently, we've seen rapid growth in the renewable diesel production, which also uses soybeans as a feedstock. Currently, the United States has the capacity to produce about 900 million gallons of renewable diesel. However, if all of the planned investments come to be, within 2 years, the United States will have a capacity to produce 5 billion gallons. Despite rapid growth in the biodiesel industry, the Environmental Protection Agency has proposed a mere 60 million gallons increase in RFS volumes for 2023. The proposed RFS volume is particularly disappointing given that the Energy Information Administration predicts a 500 million gallon increase. So it's very clear. It sounds like the EPA has failed to consult with the executive branch's own energy department. This bad policy can be corrected because this is just a proposed rule. The EPA has the ability to correct its mistakes in the final rule. If the EPA fails to account for expected growth in this industry, then the EPA will have failed soybean farmers in the United States, my state of Iowa, as well. This also comes at a time when soybean farmers are making great strides in conservation practices that further reduce carbon emissions and improve soil health. As the Treasury Department begins to look at the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Tax Credit in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act that passed last August, they need to acknowledge these advances. I did not support the Inflation Reduction Act because it is chock full of reckless spending and job-killing taxes. However, that act requires the Treasury Department with determining how to measure carbon emissions for a variety of renewable fuels. What Treasury decides could make or break the renewable fuels industry. Treasury must use the best available science for determining carbon emissions. So I want the Treasury Department to take note. This science is found at the Department of Energy's Argonne National Laboratory. The National Lab has developed a state-of-the-art model for estimating greenhouse emissions by fuel source. Oddly, for determining the carbon emissions of sustainable aviation fuel, the Inflation Reduction Act directs Treasury to use the International Civil Aviation Organization model or a similar model. If I was involved in writing the bill, I would have made sure that the Treasury Department could not outsource these important modeling decisions to an international organization when we've got a U.S. laboratory that can tell you how you can do it in the most environmentally positive way. The international model doesn't reflect advances in conservation practices used by American farmers. American farmers are at the cutting edge of conservation practices, and that should be reflected in any model that Treasury adopts. Farmers across the country stand ready to provide low-cost and low-carbon fuel to consumers on land, air, and sea. However, if the international model is adopted, a sustainable aviation fuel made from homegrown corn and soybeans will be very much shortchanged. As the Treasury Department begins to write these regulations, as a result of the Inflation Reduction Act, it must listen to farmers and our own scientists, particularly the scientists at our own Department of Energy. We should not be awarding tax benefits based on an international model that is very much outdated and very much out of touch, and that has shortchanged American innovation as proven by our laboratory in the Department of Energy. I yield the floor.